Hi, my name is Jeremy Meldrum. I'm one of the senior solution architects here at Venafi, and today I am going to demonstrate how easy it is to rotate a certificate on multiple endpoints. So if you had, let's say, a wildcard certificate that was across multiple endpoints, or if you needed a certificate that existed on, let's say, a WAF and an IIS server and an F5 server all at the same time, and that was one of the requirements within your organization, the Venafi product can easily make sure that those certificates are in sync. So we're going to go ahead and go through that type of demonstration. Now here you can see that I am logged in as this user called Jeremy, and I'm logged in currently to the Venafi self-service portal. And the first thing after authenticating with my Active Directory credentials you see is this dashboard. This dashboard is actually very easy to use. It shows you how many certificates you have, shows you how many are expiring within the next 30 days. It also shows you some of the security risks that may exist within your environment. And all this information actually gets found through several different discovery methods, which have been discussed in some of the previous videos. And so reach out to me if you'd like some more information on some of that information. But here, some of these security issues, weak signing algorithms, validity periods, and exactly where you're at compliance from some of the international organizations that are out there, such as SANS and NIST and PCI DSS. So you get to see kind of key sizes, you get to see when certificates are expiring, you get to see what type of issuing certificate authorities you have out there, some of the risks you have from an outage risk perspective, and maybe a protocol perspective that may expose you to some security vulnerabilities. And then a trends widget, which management generally likes. For example, let's just choose signing algorithm. This actually shows you that I had a bunch of SHA-1 certificates, and we had this big remediation effort, and you can see my SHA-2 is increasing. And management usually likes to see that you're making progress on some of these, security initiatives that exist. And so that's kind of where that dashboard exists. But let's just go ahead and go into our inventory and find that certificate that I was just talking about that's installed on multiple different endpoints. So if we kind of click on inventory and then certificates, you'll see on the left hand side there's a bunch of filters, and I can filter to specifically identify the certificate that we're targeting today. In the middle section you see all the different certificates with their common names. The installation shows you not only that I have a certificate, but where the certificate's installed. So for example, this certificate here, if I go ahead and expand that, you can see that this certificate exists on these two different devices, right? So if I'm going to replace this certificate, I'm going to want to make sure that I actually replace it on both of those specific endpoints. All right, so let's just go ahead and find my certificate. Now, this is a certificate that I named zeta.venafi.example. So if I filter on this, you notice that this certificate comes up and it says that this is installed in 4 different locations. So if I expand this, just like the other one, you can see that I have one on an Apache server. I've got one on one of my Impervas out there. I've got it on my F5 server, and I've got it on this IIS server. So I've got 4 different technologies with this single certificate in existence on all of those technologies. It also tells you from a validation standpoint, Venafi does a TLS handshake with each and every endpoint on a daily basis to make sure that the cert here that's in Venafi matches the cert that is out on all of these endpoints. And if they don't match, obviously we notify you. So here you can see here it says, hey, you know what, that validation process is actually failing. So I could actually highlight over here, and this will tell me, it'll say, oh, well, the current certificate out here matches with a historical certificate, which means that's a previous version of this certificate. This could be a problem. Now, I did this on purpose so that you could see what this type of use case looks like. This is a very common use case. So imagine if I'm replacing a certificate, and if I'm doing it manually, and if I have 4 endpoints or I have 100 endpoints or whatever, and if I go ahead and download this certificate and manually apply it, and I forget a single endpoint, I'm going to have an outage. And this is a demonstration of how Venafi identifies whether you're going to have an outage or not. Here you can see that this certificate was replaced on all three of these, but this one here, apparently someone had forgotten to replace that certificate, and that's what Venafi is indicating. And Venafi can send notifications out to you saying, hey, by the way, looks like that old certificate is still out there. You might want to go ahead and replace that. All right, so let's just go ahead. We're going to click on this certificate, and this takes me right to this certificate. You can see this was issued by my Meldrum CA. You can see what the common name is. You can see your OU and your city and state and all the kind of common attributes that are within that certificate. All right. You can also see that the SSL TLS validation overall, this shows me that do all the endpoints that Venafi knows about have the right certificate, basically, all right? And is it up and listening, right? And that includes the cert, the intermediate, and roots. And now, obviously, here you see a failure process, right? So that's something that we can look at. Also, from an expiration standpoint, you can see that I have 90 days left on this certificate. And you can see that this is going to go ahead and renew here in the next 60 days. So if I do absolutely nothing, Venafi, as administrator, I have that set up so it's 60 days. This is automatically going to renew and go fix itself. It's going to install it on all four of those endpoints we were talking about, and then do a validation check and make sure everything's up and running. So instead of doing it manually, doing it automatically, I can completely eliminate that failure possibility. All right. Now here, from a DNS standpoint, you can see I have a bunch of SANs that exist on this server specifically. So I mean, not this server, but this certificate. And so you can see that this certificate is probably used on multiple different endpoints, which we already know about, and it's not a wildcard certificate. All right, and here under Show All Properties, you can identify all the additional details if you choose to want to see those, like serial number and thumbprint and key algorithm and things of that nature. Now on the left hand side, there's a couple of different tabs that you can take a look at. One of these on the left hand side is installation. So this says, hey, this certificate here is installed in these 4 locations, right? This is kind of what you saw on that main screen before. SSL TLS validation, this is where we've done that TLS handshake to make sure that the cert in Venafi matches the cert on that endpoint. And we validate all the SANs, we validate the common name, we validate each of the endpoints that it's connected to. We do every validation you can think of to make sure that the possibilities of you having some kind of outage is almost completely eliminated. So here, from this specific screen, I can see my installation validations, I can see my common name validations, and I can see my SAN validations. So here, the all screen basically shows you all of them in one single view. But I could click on installation validations, and you see my 3 different installations specifically under that with all the protocols and everything else. I can look under common name. Basically, it takes the common name of that certificate, resolves it via IP address, and just makes sure that we in fact validate properly. All right, so you can see everything here. Now it looks like I currently have on my Imperva, I currently have that validation process disabled. That's why it says NA here. But I could, potentially turn that on. And Venafi has, lots of different drivers, that you could use. It doesn't have to be Imperva. It could be, semantic SSLVs or Palo Altos or whatever the case may be, right? So from that perspective, we also have previous versions. So you can see that this certificate here has been renewed several different times, 4 different times. There's 4 different historical certificates here. And these you can revoke, you can download, revert, all those kind of things. All right. So without waiting any longer with some of the other additional features that exist in here, let me show you how this renewal process actually works. So first of all, let's just double check here the serial number. So here you can see it's 04E5 is that serial number. And I have, once again, I have those 4 different technologies, right? We've got Apache, we've got my Imperva, we've got my F5, and we have my IIS server. And these are represented up here, these 4 tabs that I have up here. Right here you can see this is my CentOS machine, right? And you can see that I have that certificate. It's called 04E5. There's the serial number. And then you've got my IIS server, which should also have that same certificate on there. So if we just kind of come up here, yeah, 04E5, right? And then you've got this other server here. All right, and you got 04E5, and then you've got your secure sphere, and you can see that that certificate doesn't exist in here because I just deleted it just a moment ago so we could do this demonstration. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back here, and let's just go ahead and we're just going to renew this certificate. What will happen is during this renewal process, when I click renew, the first thing that you actually see here is you can see the common name of the certificate, you can see the organization, the web applications team, all the different things that kind of go into CSR. Venify can generate not only the private key and public key, but also the CSR during this process. And during the renewal, I could hit edit, and I could add like an additional SAN if I wanted to. But all these locked values on the right-hand side mean that the administrator is enforcing these via policy, right? Taking your security best practices and enforcing those, and so they're not changeable. But I could add additional SANs. You can see all my SANs here. You can see here that this is going to use a Microsoft Web Server 2-year certificate. So let's just go ahead and click renew. All right, you can see it's renewing. It's getting a new private public key, CSR, submitting it to my certificate authority and getting that back. You can see that I've already got a new certificate. Remember, it wasn't 04E5, I think. So if you go under here to details, you can see that the new certificate says 04E6, right? So we've got a new certificate coming down the pipe here. And it says it's now installing that certificate. So if we were to come in here and click on, let's say, installations, okay, actually we might have just finished. I was talking too long. Yeah, we actually just finished. You notice that the validation now says successful, right? Before it said failure. So if we come in here to SSL TLS and we start looking through here, it says success all the way down the pipe, right? All the installations, like I said, they all show successful. Before, this one down here, this IIS server said, hey, we've got an older version of that certificate that exists out there. So if, once again, if you look at that serial number, 04E6, and if we were to come out here and we were to, let's say, refresh this, and let's just look at our website and see where we are, right? Well, actually, you can see it right there too. But here you can see it says 04E6, right, for that certificate. And then if you were to come out to the IIS server, you'd get the same type of experience. And you'll see that viewing the certificate 04E6, right? And then if we came out to, here's our F5, and if we refresh our F5 VIP, and we were to take a look at this, you'd see 04E6, right? Very powerful. And then last but not least in here, if we go ahead and click, where is that refresh? All right, well, let's just refresh here because I can't remember where the refresh is. I'm not as familiar with the Secure Sphere interface, but it's pretty easy to refresh. And so immediately what you do is you see the certificate. You can see that I've reinstalled this several times, but you can see right here where it has 04E6, right? There is the certificate, and this has been actually pushed out to the Imperva. And so you can see how powerful and quickly Venify can do this. You can also see that now we have 730 days left on this certificate, and at 700 days, this is going to automatically renew. So once again, Venify has over 250 integrations that we can actually do, and that's with our CAs and our web services and our application deliveries and integrating with hardware security modules and integrating with ServiceNow and some of the IT service management tools and analytics and stuff like that. And so we have a very large ecosystem, and this is just one of those use cases that are critical to the success of an organization. So once again, I want to thank you for listening in and watching this demonstration, and hope to see you later.